Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Cryptoware. And in our last video, we did do some deobfuscation of a very simple sample, which was all base 64 encoded. And before that, we also discussed about what would be an easier approach towards deobfuscating samples. So we did do some analysis of the sample as well, and today again we are going to do the same thing. So here what we are going to do is this time the sample is slightly complicated than before. It's still not very difficult. It's easier to do it. You can always write your own script to perform such deobfuscation and it gets very easy. We are also going to analyze what is it trying to achieve. And another thing that we are going to do is another thing that I would like to mention is we do not have to, deobfuscate everything syntactically correct. It's totally fine. You just need to understand what the sample is doing. Based on that, you can, you know, uh, realize whether it's malicious or not. So this is the sample as I had explained in my previous video, that we have to make sure that how can we make this sample a little less messy, so it becomes easier for us to perform the analysis. So here I can see some semicolons, so we'll simply just move it to the next line. You can always use replace option since the number of lines are quite less. So I'm not going to do that, although I'll show you how you can do it with another example of yours. So also I have done the analysis. I have simplified it a bit so that it gets easier and we do not spend too much time in doing the same kind of thing again and again. So here we can understand there that a number of variable declarations have been has happened, and also we can see that it has used some hex encoding. So the first thing first, we have to make things easier. Right now it is a bit less messy, but we'll clear it out. We'll make it more easy, more uh, easier for us to read what is it trying to do. So first thing first, what we can do is we can rename the variable. It is completely up to you. Most of the time we replace this variable such variable names which are slightly gibberish, since the length of the variable is not too much, so you can skip this part. But sometimes the length of the variable is extremely high and it becomes too much difficult to understand which one is the variable name, which one is the actual content, and that is the reason we do it. So I'll simply replace it. So we can see that it has become var1 and it gets slightly easy for us to understand which one is the variable declaration and what is happening. Next thing is understanding what is it. So if you have done programming before, you can slightly guess that it could be an array. So let's simply check it over here. Okay. So most of the times what I prefer is I would copy the entire script like into a new file, so that whatever modification that I am trying to do does not get reflected in the original one. So you can easily do control Z because I ended up making changes in the original file. So here we are going to make all the changes. So we have already copied the hex encoded strings. So we will remove slash x and you can again use replace option, and I would replace it with nothing. Now you can use an inbuilt converter from hex to character, so that hex to text basically, so that it gets easier. Or you can use online tool also. There's no harm in that. Just make sure that you do not use such public websites when you're using, or if the data or the content or the sample is confidential. So we can simply replace this with this. Then again, let's go to the next part. You can again write a simpler Python script which will do it in such a quick way that you do not have to do it manually. So the second one is all users profile. So we'll place it over here. So following the same process, we are going to do the same thing to the entire array. So since I've already done this, I'm closing this. And here I had already converted. So here we can see that this is all the this is the entire content of the array, and we can see that the hex part over here meant w script shell. This meant all users profile. This looks like it is looking for some, I mean it is some .exe file, an application hit, it is a url. So basically this is an array. Moving ahead, let's go back to what each of it is doing. So they have used try and error. So we are not going to get into it right now, but you can simply understand. So here it has used WSH shell, and it is using WScript object, which is variable 1 and belongs to the 0th index. So we know that the variable always starts with 0th index. So let me simply copy paste this so that it gets easier for you to understand. Yeah. So from here we can see that, let's leave the try part. As I said, that we do not have to syntactically, you know, correctly put everything in place. It's totally fine that that you get an idea of what is it exactly trying to do through the commands, through the variables, and what is it trying to do. So here we can see var 10. So from this array, it is taking the 0th index, which is WScript shell. So we can understand that it is creating an object from WScript shell. So we can simply put it against it. Again, var file path. Also from the variable name, we can identify that maybe it is looking for a file. So expand environment strings it is using to find a file path or mention a file path. So it is var1 plus var2, which is var1 is this and var2 is this. So we can simply put it over here. You can remove this part from here. And this is the one. So it is using an environment variable and looking for this file path. Again, there is an URL which is third index, which belongs to the third index to 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the URL that it belongs to, and we can simply copy and paste it over here. So we move ahead with the same process, and this is what we get. And this is the reason why I did it before, so that we do not have to end up doing each and everything at this point. You can again use a script to do it. Since the script is the current sample is quite small, so it's possible for you to do it manually too. But in case of large scripts, it's always easier and better to use. You can write a Python script or any script, whichever language you are comfortable with, and you can do it in that way. You can automate it by yourself. You just have to identify what kind of logic this obfuscation and deobfuscation is following. So here we can see the URL is this. There's new active x object, which is this one. The next one is, it is using XHR, and it is trying to, most probably it is trying to use HTTP. And we know why HTTP could be used. It is trying to make a connection to a CNC command and control server, or maybe it is trying to download from a malicious link, maybe download from the command and control server. It could be anything. They could mean the same thing, they could be different depending upon what is it trying to achieve. Here it is sending something. We can see that it is using xml.http. Basically, it is trying to make HTTP connection, request, response, everything you will be able to see. Again, it is using file system object. We can identify why is it using file system object. It is using adodb.stream. It is opening it. It is mentioning type equal to 1. Here you can see the type is mentioned. It is talking about the response body. Again, a new object is being created for the response body. Position is 0. Here we can see the position is 0. Save to file. So it is downloading something and it is saving to the file path, and we did observe the file path. Another thing that we see, that if file exists. So again, it's using file system object and it is checking if the file actually exists. So if it exists, that is fine. But if it does not exist, it is downloading it from the URL. And again, it is creating another object using wscript.shell, and it is using the shell thing to run to execute the file. So overall, we have not, correctly placed the syntax over here. But what we did is we identified what each variable is trying to do, and corresponding to each variable, what is the function defined, what is the object defined, what kind of instance is getting created. So we tried to identify that and we just connected the dots. So in short, it has done is it is using an array, and based on that it has created the entire script. If you want to place it at the correct place with correct syntax, you will definitely get a very proper program which you can understand a bit more better. But I think this is also a very decent way to identify what the sample is doing. So here the basically the sample is also using try error, um sorry, yeah, try and error method, to if there is any error, how is it going to handle. So it's basically using error handling over here, and it is checking. So it is first of all checking for a specific file path. From here, if this exists, so it directly runs this file, and if it does not exist, it makes a connection to this URL. Where is the URL? Yeah, here. So it is making a connection to this URL from where it is downloading a file, and then it is placing it in the file path, and then it is executing it. We can see that it is an exe file. Again, it's always not necessary, but in this case, this is an executor, and this is a sorry, it's a downloader, and also it's simply a loader as well. So it may download if the file is not present. Otherwise, it will simply load this .exe. It will simply execute it. So this was slightly complicated than the previous sample that we had analyzed, and gradually we'll move ahead to other samples also, and we'll see how easy it is to deobfuscate manually, and we'll also move to that huge sample which was too much obfuscated. So gradually we'll move ahead with that also. Again, few things that I would like to mention is it's not possible to entirely deobfuscate, but it's very important for you to identify which part of the sample could be deobfuscated and analyzed, so that it gets easier to understand what the sample is doing. So this is the entire process of static analysis. You can always deobfuscate dynamically also. There is no harm with that, but it's better to understand, like you need to understand what the code is doing, and it will help you with the analysis in the future as well. So that's all for today. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be coming up with the next video with another sample which we will be deobfuscating. So thank you so much.